What's up, everybody? This is Tuba Solo coming at you with another gear discussion. We are back at discussing cook kits. For those of you that watched the video that I had on the Trek 900 cook pot and nesting system that I had about a year or so ago, you can definitely tell that some things have changed. I have come to go back to the Titan Kettle, and I've got a few things that I've changed about it, which I think is actually going to work out really quite well for me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the system. So for those of you that watch the Toaks 550 video, it's the video where I talk about the Toaks 550 being the best ultralight pot around. This actual stuff sack, I actually dissed this stuff sack quite a bit, but I've come to actually love this stuff sack. Now, it's not any lighter than it was, and I still think it's a little bit heavy for what it does, but ultimately when the day is done, this piece of gear right here is so functional for me that I could care less about the weight. As you can see, what it does is it holds the entire cook kit together. For those of you that own a Titan Kettle, you know that the top can kind of get a little bit loose on it, and this definitely keeps everything together nice and snug. And what it also does, and somebody had mentioned this in the comments, on the Toaks 550 video, they said that the stuff sack is actually that big because it acts, for lack of a better term, it acts like a koozie of sorts. It allows you to be able to hold whatever pot that you have in your hand without actually burning your hands. And when you think about it in that regard, it's actually a very useful piece of gear. So I've actually come to love this stuff sack. It's from the Toaks 550 mug, and yeah, it's really worked out quite well for me in this system. So inside our system, we have the Titan Kettle inside. As you can see, I'll show you how everything is kind of nested right there. Inside there, we have the Snow Peak Gigapower stove. This is just a Tyvek baggie that I have for it. Again, what this does is it just protects the stove, protects the inside of anything from any wear and tear. It's worked out great for me. In here I have my Gigapower stove. Now I just want to talk real quick about the Gigapower stove. If you watch the video where you can fold this thing into this shape where this thing doesn't go flying out, and then these are all symmetrically integrated on the inside over there, and you can get it into this small little package. This will actually fit on top of here and allow you to put the Titan Kettle lid on there without issue. Okay, so with that, with that ability to be able to nest this thing in without issue, I've come back to this stove time and time again, and I love using this stove. I used to use a Lightmax. I still love the Lightmax. I don't want to diss the Lightmax or say anything bad about it because that Lightmax is a great stove, but I continually find myself coming back to the Snow Peak Gigapower stove. It's just a really great piece of gear, and it works really well with this system. Okay, deeper into the system, we have our Bic lighter, just a standard mini Bic. I've removed the safety thing on the top. I've had this now for well over a year, still works well, has never failed me. Yeah, just a really great product here with these little Bic lighters. Inside is the Snow Peak Hot Lips. This is absolutely essential if you use titanium gear and you want to try to drink anything that's warm. Yeah, definitely get yourself one of these. This is I love this piece of gear. It has definitely protected me from burning my lips many a times. Inside here we have our fuel canister. I have actually switched to Gigapower fuel. Now I haven't switched to Gigapower for any other reason than you actually get a little bit more fuel in the canister. I don't know about the blends or whatever or anything like that. Rather, I just looked at the Jetboil canisters, and they came with 100 grams. The Gigapower comes with 110 grams. Now I know that that's a minuscule amount, but nonetheless, I figure if I'm paying for these things, I might as well get as much bang for my buck. So yeah, I've switched to Gigapower canisters, and so far they've worked out great. I used the Gigapower on trail camp at Mount Whitney. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. Okay. Now, buried into this whole, fix that there, buried into this whole system is the Toaks 550 mug. This is a great mug right here, okay? You can watch the video on this thing. This thing is absolutely perfect. It's not too big, not too small. It allows you to be able to cook something in your pot and then actually have a cup that can be put on a flame. For those of you that have watched my videos and those of you that have gone backpacking with me, you know that it's important for me to be able to have a cup that I can put on a flame, because if I'm actually cooking something in this, I don't want to have to sit around and wait till this pot is clean so that I could have a second and third cup of coffee or whatever it be, but tea or anything like that. So I think it's absolutely essential that you have in your system, especially if you're going to do some cooking, that you have 2 cups. Both of them can be placed on a flame. Now, what's really also nice about this system is that if you know you're just going to be doing, if you're just going to be boiling water, you don't have to take both cups. You can leave this at home. So that's one thing that I really like about the system. If I know I'm just going to bring a mountain house out there, I'm going to omit this cup. But if I know I'm actually going to be doing some cooking, I'm going to do a pasta side or something like that, I'm going to cook some mashed potatoes, and I'm going to do it actually right here in this pot, I'll definitely bring the Tokes mug with me. And yeah, it's worked out really great. One also really nice thing about this is that the fuel canister fits right inside in there. And yeah, that's worked out great. I actually leave it upside down because it gives me a little bit more room here to be able to nest a few items, and we'll go over through the whole nesting process here in just a second. But yeah, this is a really great pot, and it nests really well into the MSR Titan kettle. Okay, the next item in here is a bandana. You know, I think in the original video that I had a bandana that was a green one. It was a much bigger one. Since that time, I bought a smaller bandana and actually had my mother-in-law cut this down to a much smaller square. Overall, this is really all that I need out there as far as some kind of a wipe or cloth or whatever to go with my cook system. It is approximately 9 3/4 square. So basically, you know, 10 inches or whatever square. And yeah, it's worked out great. It's just the right size. Allows you to be able to hold on to the pot without issue. It's not a lot of bulk in there. Very easy to use to clean. And needless to say, it's pretty good for wiping your face too. So that is that right there. So that is the entire system right here. We're going to go ahead and get into the weights in just a second here. But let me go ahead and nest all this stuff for you so that you can see exactly how this all kind of works out. One other thing that I want to talk about before I show you how all this stuff nests together is the Lexicon spoon. It's the one that's being sold at REI now. It's GSI brand. I don't know, they had a more generic brand, I guess you can say, beforehand, or maybe it was an REI brand. But yeah, love this spoon. It's a great spoon. Use it for cooking, use it for eating. I can't really go wrong with this guy. Yeah, it doesn't nest into the system, but that's okay. I mean, I find spots for this without issue. And yeah, this spoon has really worked out quite well for me. Okay. All right, so how do we nest all this stuff? What I first do when I nest everything together is the bandana is actually folded into thirds. And you don't have to be absolutely perfect on this, but essentially what you want to do is you're trying to get it so that it's just not really taller than the 550 mug. Then what I do is I just wrap it around the 550 mug like this and put that right into the Titan kettle. Okay. Next thing that goes in there is our fuel canister. It actually goes in upside down. That gives us enough space up here to be able to nest some other things. The stove goes in there like that. Now it definitely has a flatter spot. There's a little arm that sticks out that controls a regulator. You want to definitely make sure that that arm is sitting sideways. Right now the arm is right over here, and it allows the stove to lay a lot flatter. Last couple items. Let's go right into there. Fit them how you can, and that is how you nest that. Now one thing I want to say, that you notice that this lid has a lip on it. Just want to make sure that the cup in there is centered so that that can sit flush. Okay, so that is how all that nests, and then everything goes into the Tokes 550 stuff sack. Oops, and give that guy a tug, and you're all set. You're ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead and go through some of the weights of this stuff, okay? Let me, I'll clear this table and we'll go through each individual piece. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're gonna put on the block there, on the chopping block there, is the Titan kettle lid, which comes in at 1.2 ounces. Or for those of you that like grams. It comes in at 35 grams. The next item is the heaviest stuff sack in the world, as I have so lovingly called this thing over the years. We'll switch it back to ounces, and looks like that thing is 0.4 ounces or 11 grams. We'll switch back to ounces real quick. This spoon is 0.5 ounces, and for those of you that are into grams, it is 14 grams according to my scale. The Snow Peak stove is 3.1 ounces or 87 grams. The stuff sack for the stove, and we'll see if that thing even really registers, it's at 0.1 ounces or, I gotta give it a second, I think, roughly 2 grams. Snow Peak hot lips, that is 0.1 ounces, and that actually teeters at 3 grams. So it's a little bit different than the stuff sack. I think the stuff sack was really teetering, even though it was 0.1 ounces, it was on the low end of 0.1 ounces, whereas this is on the high end of 0.1 ounces, which actually pushes it up to 3 grams. Alrighty, so I am not going to go with the lighter because that to me is fuel, so I always omit the lighter whenever I do any of the weights for this stuff. And the next one, and of course, like I said, the fuel, that's obviously fuel, so we're going to omit the weight of the fuel. The next piece in here is the Toaks 550, the mug by itself. It is 2.9 ounces or 84 grams. Now remember, based on what you're going to be doing, you could take this or you can omit it. You don't have to have this with you, so that's one piece that you can choose to bring depending on what you know you're going to be doing or cooking. Next item is the bandana. That comes in at 0.3 ounces, and as you guys might have already seen, 9 grams. Finally, the Titan Kettle pot by itself is 3.2 ounces, or as you guys probably already saw there, 91 grams. If we were to add the lid onto the Titan Kettle, we are at 4.4 ounces or 126 grams. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load everything into here except for the fuel. So I want to show you guys here. I'm just going to stuff all this junk in there together. Alright. That way we don't have to waste more time than what we need to. Okay, so the things that are inside here, just so you guys know, it's the bandana, the stuff sack, the Gigapower stove, the sack for the little baggie for the stove, the hot lips, and all of that goes into the Titan Kettle with the lid on top, and that comes out to be, 11.4 ounces. Or 323 grams for everything, which is actually pretty great. Add the spoon on top of that. I'll make sure I don't forget that guy. That comes out to 11.9, so basically just a hair under 12 ounces, and that comes out to 337 grams. Let me get this out of the way so you guys can see that. Okay, so that says 337 grams when I centralize everything. Alrighty, so that is the cook kit that I am using currently. Hopefully you guys found this information useful. Hopefully you guys can take some of this information and utilize it in your system. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely leave a comment. As I say on many of my gear discussion videos, I love talking about gear. Definitely leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. Definitely keep it positive overall. But yeah, I would definitely love to hear critiques on this system. So yeah, go ahead, leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe. And again, thank you so very much for taking time to watch this video.